Hey, what's up, people? We're back on Steel Faith, showing off the Beastmen and Malagor Crowfather with his useless wings and gigantic nose ring. What a sexy bastard. Don't know about you guys, but I'd definitely tap that. Poor guy does not get any love in vanilla, because summoning Cygors is absolute garbage with the way some units crumble now. He's at least a little bit more viable in Steel Faith, because I'm pretty sure units crumble a lot slower, so it's a lot more worth it to use Savage Dominion and summon that extra Cygor. I've got a big scary Bray Herd complete with all the Minotaur and Gorbel fixings, ready to pound some Greenskins into the dirt. No idea how Orcs and Goblins taste, but I think our Minotaur friends are going to find out soon enough. Also have some Cygors on the field, monstrous artillery that have a new map-wide ability in this mod called Soul Eater, which dramatically increases enemy miscast chance map-wide by 25%, which is a really big deal when your opponent is fielding an Orc Shaman and Azhag the Slaughterer. Minotaurs are lower in number now, but much scarier on a per-model basis, and the Great Weapon variant actually comes with the Mark of Khorne, which effectively grants them Frenzy, buffing their charge, melee attack, and immunity to psychology when their leadership is above 50%. Savage Dominion going off there now, and so another Cygors entering the fray. And those Greenskins better get that WAAAGH moving into high gear, because 3 Cygors can put out a lot of damage in a very short amount of time. So the WAAAGH is on the move, big guns in the front lines. Night Goblin Spears are a new addition. We got the Rusty Airs there, and of course Azhag the Slaughterer on Skull Muncher in the background, equipped with the Crown of Sorcery, so he'll be busting out some very scary death magic in this game. And of course on top of the Wyvern, very scary in melee as well. Remember, in Steel Faith, the Winds of Magic pool is way bigger, and spells are a lot scarier pretty much across the board. So stuff like Devolve from the Lore of Wild and the Lore of Death, Purple Son of Xerius, and all those abilities are going to be a lot scarier. Those were Black Orcs with shields. New unit. There are a couple new units in Steel Faith, actually, but they're all pretty low-key changes, just given stuff like Black Orcs access to weapon combinations they had in the tabletop game, like their Arm to the Teeth special rule. And these are Night Goblin Spears charging into the teeth of the Bray Herd, and I'm not sure that's where they want to be. That is a very scary-looking Cygor tossing some boulders in the background, and once they make it into melee, even with their bonus versus large, not sure they're going to be able to handle a Cygor very easily. So the Ungor Spearmen Herd are up front just to soak up the charge, the devastating charge of these Night Goblin Spears. They're going to smash into each other and kill the crap out of each other, just like you would expect in a gigantic battle, Warhammer battle like the one we have right now. So Ungor Spearmen Herd again, charging forward, this time into some not Black Orcs, some Big Guns. The Big Guns are going to rip them a new one. Not going to be a good engagement for them, but of course they're very cheap, just meat shielding and preventing that charge from hitting more important troops like the Vestigors in the second and third line. On my right flank, some Warboy Big Guns looking like they're trying to get in and around into the back of the Bray Herd. The Arachnarok Spider, the Shelob Queen, already making some stuff route, and Vestigors and Gorherd, now the second and third waves of troops, are entering melee. On this side, we've got some Minotaurs with the Mark of Khorne chasing down some Warboy Big Guns, and I'm going to need some Centaurs to catch up to them because Minotaurs are not fast enough to tie them down. The main engagement has begun in earnest here, and this might get a little bit freaky. Orc Shaman is casting something big, and when you see him winding up on Steel Faith and he's not on your team, just bend over. You know something bad's about to happen. That is the Foot of Gork about to come down on a big blob of troops, and I think things are about to get very, very messy. Let's put it into fast motion real quick. Oh my god. Call Aunt Jemima. Bust out some maple syrup, because we've got pancakes, boys. Wow, look at that damage. That is absurd. Holy crap, that is a lot of dead troops. Let's take a look here. How many kills did he get? 200 kills in a single Foot of Gork. And that is going to completely crumble the center of my line. Insta-route. Pretty problematic stuff. Now, some of those troops might cycle back into combat, but that was a lot of damage in the center of my line. Very nice cast from Gojira there. We've got Gorbels and some Minotaurs engaging a bunch of Warboy Big Guns and some nasty Skulkers out here on the flank. They're completely surrounded, but they're Minotaurs. They have the Mark of Khorne. They're really scary in Steel Faith. I expect them to be able to win that engagement, considering they have great weapons, which means they're very good versus large troops like Warboy Big Guns as well. The Shield of Queen is a serious problem. Very high armor, of course, causing terror to everything in the center. And Gorherd do not have the best leadership, so there might be a rout coming pretty soon here if I'm not careful. There's so many terror-causing units on the field, and Purple Sun Azarius from Azhag about to get cast on another big blob of the Brayherd, and that's going to do a ton of damage too. A little bit of friendly fire there as well, but definitely worth it, especially with Skullmuncher flying overhead. Terror going to get imbued on all those units, and Purple Sun ripping through the line. That cast got over 100 kills. Yeah, he's at 128 after a single cast, so yeah, those spells are doing a lot of damage to my line, and that's a serious issue. Magic being utilized very well, and you can see it's obviously very different from the magic that's used in vanilla. It's a lot more impactful, a lot more damaging, which is a nice change of pace to be able to see Vortex spells actually get used and do something. But on this flank, Minotaurs are feasting on these Savage Orcs who have absolutely no hope, just getting pummeled over on this side. And the Rusty Airs are trying to provide some kind of range support, but that is not going to be enough to deal with all those Minotaurs. It looks like Fate of Buna going off in the center of the engagement, and the left flank is beginning to collapse for the Beastmen here, but looks like some of the routing troops have also come back and cycled back into combat, and the right flank of the Beastmen is won substantially. Savage Orcs and all the skirmish units that were on the side have been wrapped up. That will allow the Minotaurs to collapse in and get a rear charge into these Black Orcs. This could be a devastating, game-altering kind of moment here. Minotaur charging into the back of the Black Orcs and should presumably rip them up pretty handily. But another Foot of Gork again. That's what I'm talking about with the massive Winds of Magic pool. Allows you to cast way more big damage spells. And again, a lot of those cheaper units and even some Bestigors are routing from the field. Foot of Gork is nasty, man. It's done a ton of damage this game. Orc Shaman probably over 300 kills at this point. But the Gorherd are holding the line pretty well here. That pork. That Orc boy just got destroyed. And Skullmuncher is still looking for some squishy targets here. Might go into the Centaurs, not the Centaurs, the Cygors, but actually he's going to go for the Gorherd, try to imbue some terror into them. And yeah, Skullmuncher, this Wyvern is going to have a field day in the middle of this Brayherd and rip them up. Really love watching the dragon and the wyvern animation. That's just so intimidating. And of course, seeing Azhag on top of it just looks so cool. Azhag's making a big impact on the game thus far. That Purple Sun Azarius did a lot of work, and now probably going to be able to make some of these Gorherds start at least reconsidering the engagement they're in. Gorbel actually ended up winning over on that flank with the Minotaurs. They're collapsing now in on the Boarboy Big Guns, trying to take them off the field. And there's some skirmish fire from the Greenskins, but it has been a very even fight thus far. A lot of back and forth, some really powerful spells going off. Malagor Crowfather is not to be outdone here. Devolve going off in an AoE, a little bit less impactful than some of the Vortex spells, but also, oh, a Cygor just went down. But Devolve is actually very good now, even in Vanilla, and it's much better in Steel Faith. So drop that on a big blob of troops, you're going to be able to do a lot of AoE damage, kind of like Flock of Doom from pre-patch. So the Gorbel is holding line very nicely. Cygor charging in, going to drop a Waystone on some people's head and stomp them into the dirt. And those are the Broken Tusk mobs stuck in melee, immune to psychology, I believe, and some better stats than regular Boarboy Big Guns. So that's a good unit to have in that engagement because they do have a bonus versus large, and they're immune to the terror that Cygors cause. Giant and a Cygor over here going at it, but there's a lot of rock lavas throwing in some ammunition as well. Oh yeah, beautiful shots there. They're doing a lot of damage to the Bestigors, who have now had enough and are running. It'll be interesting to see who wins that duel there. Cygor and Giant, pretty even matchup. Although, of course, Cygor's a little bit worse in melee simply because the Giant is a strictly melee specialist, while the Cygor can roll Waystones halfway across the map and smash stuff before it ever enters melee. Bestigors seem to have cleaned up their engagement in the center, and now Market Core Minotaurs are ganging up on that poor Giant. They're just a fantastic choice for bringing down isolated monsters, but those Bestigors are getting their asses kicked, man. First, they got pounded by a Foot of Gork, and now they're getting slammed by a bunch of rock lavas from long range. We got Malagor Crowfather and Skullmuncher and Azhag fighting it out, and Azhag doesn't want any more of that engagement. Both of them are pretty low, actually, but the Bestigors managed to tie down the Wyvern for a little bit and make sure that Malagor didn't go down against that scary dragon thing. We've got a Cygor in the middle of the Broken Tusk mob. They're routing here, it looks like, and oh, beautiful. I actually just missed, went right over the big guns' heads there. And this is the point where it looks like things are getting a little bit corrupt. It's still pretty faithful to what happened, but I think the ending is probably going to get a little bit weird here. There was a patch, I think, on Steel Faith. I wasn't sure if it corrupted the replay, but yeah, it's definitely looking like it corrupted the replay a little bit. It shouldn't matter too much. Greenskins are beginning to rout. There is going to be some fighting here at the end, but it's not really a big deal, honestly. This replay was not one where it's like super tactical. It was more just for the cinematics and to show off some of the new changes to the Beastmen and the Greenskins, and certainly, oh god, look at those. Those Minotaurs are going to rip those Goblin Archers up very nicely. But yeah, it was just to show off some of the changes that Steel Faith made. Some people have been asking for how the Beastmen and Greenskins fared in the mod, and I wanted to show off some of the new changes like the Soul Eater ability for the Cygors, which makes them much more viable and makes sense with the lore, right? That's the whole point of Steel Faith mod, is to take lore knowledge and tabletop knowledge and implement some more of that into the game to give each faction more flavor and variety and usefulness. And that's not necessarily true for every single unit in the mod, but it does its best to make sure that some of those units that maybe don't get played too much in single player or multiplayer have more chance to shine and more chance to be unique. And I think that's one thing that the mod does very admirably well. So we see Azhag here pulling away from the engagement, Cygor stomping after him, and it'll just be cleanup duty at this point. The original game had Malagor and a squad of Minotaurs and a couple of Bestigors and the remnants of everything, actually kind of like this right now, working together, and just they had to be very careful because they were all very low, and one terror bomb from Azhag dropping on their head could have been enough to make everything run away, but they managed to operate together, and we brought down Azhag there at the end of the game. It might happen in this one as well, but yeah, I think this mod is absolutely fantastic for these big set-piece 40-unit cap battles. Really makes for some cinematic moments for sure. That Foot of Gork was punishing Purple Sun Azarius from Azhag and Skullmuncher as well. Super cool. And of course, seeing Beastmen and Greenskins beat the crap out of each other is always an awesome sight, especially when you're on 40-unit cap. You can get those really gigantic battles going. I think it's really cool. So we've got Skullmuncher going after Malagor here. He's very low. One or two more attacks could be enough to finish him off. Minotaurs are circling around. Goreherd trying to tie down this big wyvern. Malagor is actually sidestepping the hell out of there. That's fine. We're going to put it on double fast forward for a second here. And maybe see the end of the Crown of Sorcery and this Orc war boss, who was killed around the timeline the Total War Warhammer game was set. I think it was like 2515, the Battle of Osterwald against the Empire. In this timeline, he's going to get gored by a Gorble. He's going to go down, and that should precipitate a mass rout, and the Beastmen are going to take the field. So really enjoyed that one. Wish it wasn't corrupt, of course, but we can take a look at the kills here. The kills are going to be a little bit off, but you can see the Gorbles and Minotaurs made a relatively big impact on the game. Cygors, being able to summon another one with Savage Dominion, such a good spell with the slower rate of crumbling in this mod, definitely makes that much more viable. Malagor, by no means the best Beastman Lord. I think he has Strider ability that also got added, so he can move a little bit faster than he is normally able to, but not fantastic, but still fun to use. Something wicked this way comes. Hope you guys enjoyed this game. I'll see y'all next time.